Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Canto 3, Chapter 9, Text number 5. Yea to Tvadiya Charanambuja Kusha Gandham Jigranti Karana Vivare Shuti Vata Nitam Bhaktya Grihita Charana Paraya Cha Tesham Nepasai Nata Hridayamburuhat Swa Sam Yete Tvadiya Charanam Bujako Sagandam Vigrantikana Vivare Shutevata Nitam Bhaktya Grihita Charana Paraya Chatisham Napasasai Nataridayam Buruhat Swapumsam Yate Tvadiya Charanam Bujako Sagandam Vigrantikana Vivara Shutavata Nitam Bhaktya Grihatak Charana Paraya Chatisham Napasi Nataridayam Buruhat Swapumsam Two, but Tvadiya, your Charana Ambuj, lotus feet, Kusha, inside, Gandham, flavor, Jigranti, smell, Karana Vivare, through the channel of the ears, Shuti Vata Nitam, carried by the air of Vedic sound, Bhaktya, by devotional service, Grihita Charana, accepting the lotus feet, Paraya, transcendental, Cha, also, Tesham, for them, Na, never, Apaisi, separate, Nata, O my Lord, Hridaya, heart, Amburuhat, from the lotus of Swapumsam, of your own devotees. Translation: O my Lord, persons who smell the aroma of your lotus feet, carried by the air of Vedic sound, through the holes of the ears, accept your devotional service. For them you are never separated from the lotus of their hearts. Repeat, O my Lord, persons who smell the aroma of your lotus feet, carried by the air of Vedic sound, through the holes of the ears, accept your devotional service. For them, you are never separated from the lotus of their hearts. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. For the pure devotee of the Lord, there is nothing beyond the lotus feet of the Lord. And the Lord knows that such devotees do not wish anything more than that. The word "to" specifically establishes this fact. The Lord also does not wish to be separated. The Lord also does not wish to be separated from the lotus hearts of those pure devotees. That is the transcendental relationship between the pure devotees and the personality of Godhead. Because the Lord does not wish to separate himself from the hearts of such pure devotees, it is understood that they are specifically dearer than the impersonalists. The relationship of the pure devotees of the Lord develops because of devotional service to the Lord on the authentic basis of Vedic authority. Such pure devotees are not mundane sentimentalists, but are factually realists, because their activities are supported by the Vedic authorities who have given oral reception to the facts mentioned in the Vedic literatures. The word paraya is very significant. Para bhakti, or spontaneous love of God, is the basis of an intimate relationship with the Lord. This highest stage of relationship with the Lord can be attained simply by hearing about Him, His name, form, quality, from authentic sources like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, recited by pure analoy devotees of the Lord. Translation: O my Lord, persons who smell the aroma of your lotus feet, carried by the air of Vedic sounds through the holes of the ears, accept your devotional service. For them you are never separated from the lotus of their hearts. Om Ajnana Atmarandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshmanatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So Srila Prabhupada is saying, rather, these are prayers, Brahma's prayers for creative energy. So Lord Brahma is speaking the translation. He is saying that those persons who smell the aroma from the lotus feet, from your lotus feet, speaking towards Lord Krishna, carried by the air of Vedic sound, when that sound enters the holes of the ears, then they accept devotional service. So Prabhupada is saying, for the pure devotee of the Lord, there is nothing beyond the lotus feet of the Lord. And the Lord knows that such devotees do not wish anything more than that. So Rupa Goswami has defined pure devotional service, and Yabilasita Sunan Jnana Karmana Avritam Anukalena Krishna Silam Bhakti Uttama. Pure devotional service means service rendered to Krishna favorably, anukul, free from anything else. In other words, it's pure. There is nothing else there. So, to the favorable pure devotional service means service to the Lord where there's no other type of desire. And this type of service pleases Krishna the most. This type of service actually only pleases Krishna. And when a devotee renders that type of service, then he knows nothing but the lotus feet of the Lord. And the Lord knows that such devotees do not wish anything more than that. The Lord also does not wish to be separated from the lotus hearts of those pure devotees. There is a transcendental relationship between the devotee and Krishna. Because the Lord does not wish to separate himself from the hearts of such pure devotees, it's understood they are dearer than the impersonalists. So, it is described that Krishna is Atmarama and he is Atmakama. So what does Atmarama mean?
Self-satisfied.
Self-satisfied. And we have that famous verse, the Atmarama verse. Anyone know that verse? Granti Ukramena. Something. So in that verse, Atmarama verse, is described that those who are Atmaramas They're self-satisfied. They don't have to. They are enjoying Atma, Rama. They're enjoying. Rama means to enjoy. They're enjoying the Atma. There are two words. There's Atma Rama and there's Atma Kama. So first I'll explain both. Atma Rama means one who is enjoying his Atma. Rama means to enjoy, and he's enjoying his Atma. So it's described that Krishna is Atma Rama, and yogis who are Atma Ramas, who are aspiring to be Atma Ramas, they have Krishna as their. They worship the supreme Atma Rama in order to become also Atma Rama. So Krishna is self-satisfied. He does not have to look outside for satisfaction. He is fully satisfied. This is Atma Rama. And Atma Kama means, Apta Kama means, check it. Kama means desires. All desires are fulfilled. Atma Kama means all desires are fulfilled. So again, this is Krishna. All his desires are fulfilled, naturally. Even you have impersonalists, or even there are devotees of Krishna whose desires are fulfilled, or even there are yogis, that worship Krishna and who are Atma Rama, and also who don't desire anything. So Atma Rama, Atma Kama. This is an important point, actually. This is made by the Acharyas. So, which is superior? Atma Rama or Atma Kama? Anyone else? Which is higher? Atma Rama, Atma Kama. Why?
Because in Atma Kama stage, it's like all desires fulfilled.
That's all.
And in Atma Rama, you're already in an enjoying stage.
So it's higher? True. Atma Rama has something more than Atma Kama doesn't, because Atma Rama also infers you don't have any, all your desires are fulfilled. But more than that, more than all your desires are fulfilled, you're actually enjoying inside Atma Rama. Atma Kama doesn't indicate or infer that you're enjoying inside, but it indicates that all your desires are fulfilled, or you have no desires to be fulfilled. So Krishna is Atma Rama and Atma Kama. That's generally understood. But it's described by the Acharyas that when Krishna enters Vrindavan, he is not Atma Rama and he is not Atma Kama. His Atma Rama and his Atma Kama go. Because in Vrindavan there are devotees. And these devotees have this love, this prema. And this love for Krishna, this prema, it is described, causes Krishna to be controlled. It is described by Rupa Goswami that there are 6 qualities of pure devotional service. And the 6th quality of pure devotional service is that Krishna is controlled. Krishna is actually controlled by pure devotion. So when Krishna is in Vrindavan, and he sees the residents of Vrindavan, for instance the cowherd boys, then he becomes very attracted to them, and he wants to join with them, he wants to be with them. So previously he was Atma Rama and Atma Kama. All his desires were satisfied and he was enjoying inside. But then he feels the need to go and be with the cowherd boys. So he goes to where the cowherd boys are. He wants to join with them. Like right now it is Gosta Lila, and Krishna is leaving Nandagram around about this type of time, around about now, just as people are going to work. We're hearing them going to work, catching the train. We're going to college and university and so forth. You're going to university? Next week. Anyhow, they don't have holiday in Vrindavan. So also they're about to go off into the pasturing grounds. So when Krishna sees, he also wants to go. He also wants to be with the cowherd boys. Why is that? Because of their bhakti, because of their love. He is drawn towards them because of their love. And then he is with the cowherd boys. And then after some time being with the cowherd boys, he may see his mother, he may see Mother Yasoda. So Mother Yasoda has parental affection, and that the nature of parental affection is that it's actually more intense than the cowherd boy's affection. The nature of Vatsya Rasa is more intense. There is more sneha, there is more affection than in Vatsya Rasa. So then he also becomes attracted towards that, and he goes towards Mother Yasoda. Mother Yasoda may want to feed him. On the strength of her love, on the intensity of her love, he's drawn towards her. So he has to go near, he has to be with her. So these are examples that Krishna is Atma Rama, he is Atma Kama, but he's controlled by his devotees. And in Vrindavan, he's not Atma Kama and Atma Rama. He's actually controlled by his devotees. He's with the cowherd boys, and he's with one cowherd boy, then another cowherd boy, and then he has to go to be with Nanda Maharaj. When he comes home in the evenings, Nanda Maharaj is anxiously looking for Krishna. He climbs that tower and he's anxiously looking, when is Krishna going to come? And then Krishna goes towards Nanda Maharaj and picks his shoes up, or he is with him for some time. So Krishna is controlled by the love of his devotees. Actually, the love of Krishna's devotees, their prema, is even higher than Krishna, because it can actually control Krishna. And Krishna, we understand, is Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sakshit Ananda Vigraha. He is the supreme controller. Upatarastarane Mantaja, Bharata Bhok Maheshwara. This is described in Bhagavad Gita. That he is the supreme witness, he is the super soul, he is guiding everything. He is the creator. And that thing, that person who is the creator of all universes. How many universes are there? Unlimited universes. Within each universe, how many planets? Do we have any idea how many planets? Cannot count. Within each universe, many planets. Within each planet, so many living entities. It's described there are more living entities than there are species of life. How many species of life are there? Sorry, there are more living entities than there are atoms. There are more living entities than there are atoms within the universe. That's right. So we know there are 84 lakh species of life. But there are more living entities than there are atoms in the universe. How many atoms are in the universe? Quickly make a count. How many? You read Saraputra's magazine. There is some mention there of how many atoms there are in the universe. Rati Manjari must know. In the region of 10 to the power of 80. So anyhow, lots of atoms. So more living entities than there are atoms. So Krishna, he is controlling all of this. This is all going on by his arrangement. He is the super soul. He expands himself as the super soul. He is situated within every atom. Paramanu and Antamasta. He's within every atom. He's also in the heart of every living being. And we know how many billions of living entities there are. And everything is happening by his arrangement. This whole creation is going on. The sun rises at a specific time. The sun sets. The moon rises. Everything is very specific. It is very ordered. It's not haphazard. One can, by mathematical calculations, predict exactly what time the sun will rise, in 1 week's time. You can predict exactly to the second, to the millisecond, what time the sun will rise in 100 years' time. It's very exact. Everything is very exact. By Krishna's arrangement, there are so many millions of living entities, and each reproduce. And each reproduce the same species. It is not that a dog gives birth to a cat. It is not that a bird gives birth to an insect. Each living entity reproduces exactly according to, its nature. Who is ordering this? Who is making? Who is in charge of this? So this is the supreme controller. The nature of Krishna is that he's the supreme controller. We should just try to understand. And this universe that we're living in is considered to be the smallest universe. There are many other universes larger. Smallest universe. And this universe is so vast. So complicated. We cannot even understand this planet that we're living on, or to speak of the universe. We cannot even understand this one planet that we happen to be living on, Earth planet. We can't even understand this material body that we're living in. This material body is so complicated. So many millions, billions of nerve cells, 10 billion neurons, nerve cells all working together. We can't even understand this ordinary body that we happen to be living in. So Krishna is controlling everything. Everything is happening by his arrangement. And this whole creation is simply one spark of his splendor. You know? Ekam sena stito jagat. This universe, jagat, ek, is one spark of Krishna's creation. So he's controlling everything. Everything is going on by his arrangement. And yet, this supreme controller, this person who's controlling everything, he himself is controlled. And who is he controlled by? Not by some even greater God. He is controlled by Jiva Tattva. He's controlled by a small Jiva Tattva, if that Jiva Tattva has prem. He is controlled by Jiva Tattva, if that Jiva Tattva has prem. Prem means love of God. So we can see what is the unique position of prema, or love of God. Prema means pure love of God. It means pure love of God. It is so powerful that it's able to control the supreme powerful. And this is exhibited in the pastimes in Vrindavan in the 10th canto, where Krishna is forced to join the cowhead boys. When Mother Yasoda calls him, he is forced to come to see her because of her love. When she tries to bind him, in the month of Kartik, she tries to bind him. Mother Yasoda was chasing after Krishna and she wanted to bind him. So Krishna didn't want to be bound. He was thinking, the cowherd boys will laugh at me. I don't want to be bound. But he noticed that his mother, she was trying so much out of love, she wanted to bind him so that she could rectify him. He had done something wrong. So she was chasing him out of love. So finally he agreed, all right, because my mother has so much love for me and she wants to do this out of love, all right, I will agree. So we can see how Krishna is controlled. So this nature of Krishna, that he allows himself to be controlled, not even allows himself to be controlled, because he doesn't even know what is happening sometimes. Krishna doesn't even know what is happening sometimes. Yoga Maya even is able to control Krishna. And even Krishna sometimes becomes covered even by his own potency of Yoga Maya. And he feels this attraction towards his devotees. So therefore it is said that Krishna resides within the hearts of the pure devotees. And within the heart of Krishna are the pure devotees. There is one famous song by Narottam. A Bara Corona, a Vaishnava Goshai, that Krishna resides, Govinda resides in the hearts of the pure devotees, but within the heart of Govinda is the pure devotees. And just like the pure devotee, he can do nothing but think of Govinda. So Krishna also, he can do nothing but think of his pure devotees. So definitely, they're far superior than the impersonalists. The impersonalists, they have an impersonal conception of God. They believe that their ultimate conception of God is that God is impersonal, that God has no personality. So these pure devotees are far superior to the impersonalists. The relationship of the pure devotee with the Lord develops because of devotional service to the Lord on the basis of Vedic authority. So Rupa Goswami has also described Shruti Shmiti Paranadi Panchvartam Vidin Vina, that our devotional service must be according to Scripture. Shruti Shmiti Paranadi. It is not that we just make up our service. If we just make up so-called devotion to Krishna without checking with Scripture, then it becomes a disturbance in society. And of course this is also happening. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left, then many unauthorized practitioners of so-called bhakti started to practice. and they concocted methods of bhakti. And they're called apra sampradayas, and created their own groups. Prakrita Sahajas, different name, bowlers, so forth. They concocted. So our devotion to Krishna, devotional service, must be according to authorized scripture. And authorized scripture means Hare, Bhakti Vilas, Bhakti Samhita Sindhu, Narada Pancharatra, Shruti Smriti. These are the different authorized scriptures. So our practice of devotional service is according to scripture. It's not concocted in any way. If concoction comes in, then it becomes spoiled. So Rupa Goswami has very carefully authorized the different stages of advancement in devotional service, how one makes advancement. He has described in Bhakti Samhita Sindhu different offenses to avoid in the worship of deity, different types of etiquette. He's described so many different stages: sadhana bhakti, bhava bhakti, prema bhakti. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur has described all the different stages: shraddha, sadhusanga, bhajana kriya, and nishta bhakti, nishta, ruchi, ashakti, bhava, prema. He's described the different stages of advancement, different symptoms. In other words, this is science, the science of bhakti yoga. It is not something haphazard. Srila Prabhupada describes that devotional service is not a matter of speculation or imaginative ecstasy. It's not we imagine. Impersonalists, karmis, non-devotees, they say that actually devotees imagine things. Sometimes they work themselves up into some type of imaginative mood, they imagine different things. But Rupa Goswami has analyzed very carefully how one makes advancement. Different symptoms will become manifest at different levels. And if we are intelligent, then one can study, specifically Madhurya Kadamini, which describes these different levels. And one can see there are different symptoms displayed by different devotees on different stages. And then one can see, it's not a matter of imagination, that these may manifest in the heart of different devotees. And by this way one can determine different devotees are advanced, more advanced, or most advanced. Just like when you come to the stage of bhav, Rupa Goswami has described there are 9 symptoms. These 9 symptoms have been discussed in great detail. So you can see whether they are actually exhibited in the heart of a devotee, whether they're there in the character of a devotee. And then you can determine, yes, this devotee is coming to this type of stage. So it's not a matter of imagination. And Srila Prabhupada has given us specifically Bhakti Samhita Sindhu, so we can gauge our advancement and we can see. So the relationship of the pure devotee and the Lord develops with devotional service, and that devotional service is based on scripture. By service, one becomes attached. Prabhupada uses the example that previously in the Vedic culture, and even nowadays in strict Indian families, more in India of course, sometimes a girl will get married when she's 10 or 11. Srila Prabhupada was 22, his wife was about 11 when they got married. But to start off with, the wife will simply serve the husband. She won't even live necessarily in the same house. She will serve menial service. And that may go on for so many years. And from menial service, you develop attachment. Attachment comes like that. You become more and more attached. So it is the nature of service that you become attached. You can't help it. If you serve, you become attached. So we are serving Krishna, and slowly we're becoming attached. It's called Vaidhi Bhakti. We are serving Krishna and we are becoming attached. And as we continue to serve, that attachment will become deeper and deeper and deeper. And then it will come to some very deep attachment called rag, very deep attachment. So we have to be patient, utsranishta dayat, and then that attachment will become much deeper. But that service has to be according to scripture. It's not what we think. It doesn't work like that. I think Krishna may want this, therefore I give him. I think Krishna may want that. Or I want to do this, and I will give the result to Krishna. No, we should do what Krishna wants us to do. And how do we know what Krishna wants us to do? Gary? Specifically 3 things I'm looking for. Yeah, Guru, Shastra, Sadhu. Yeah. So, if our activities are authorized, confirmed by Guru, Shastra and Sadhu, then we can know it is correct, authorized, and we can go ahead with full enthusiasm. Not only our activities, but even our thoughts. Guru, Shastra and Sadhu, even our goals, our concepts, even our bhav, our consciousness, should be authorized by Guru, Shastra and Sadhu. Guru means Diksha Guru, Siksha Guru. Guru doesn't mean just Diksha Guru, it can mean Siksha Guru, Diksha Guru. It can mean that superior or qualified Vaishnava that we have great faith in. And Sadhu means other devotees, but of higher kind. And Shastra means revealed scripture, not just Rig Vedas. Bhakti Samhita Sindhu. So we should get our activities confirmed. If our activities are confirmed, then we know it is devotional service and we go forward. Then our relationship with Krishna can deepen. Such pure devotees are not mundane sentimentalists. So this is the argument. But are factually realists because of their activities are supported by Vedic authorities and by the Vedic authorities who have given oral reception to the facts mentioned in literature. So, such pure devotees are not sentimentalists. What we are doing is completely authorized by scripture. We're actually realists. The word paraya is very significant. The word paraya means paraya, grihata, charana, paraya. Transcendental. The word paraya is very significant. Para bhakti, or spontaneous love of God, is the basis of an intimate relationship with the Lord. So they're talking actually about a type of bhakti which is more based on spontaneous affection for Krishna. This higher stage of relationship with the Lord can be attained simply by hearing about Him. So Bhakti Samhita Sindhu describes 3 types of devotees and 2 types of paths. The 3 types of devotees, or rather the 3 types of devotion, is sadhana bhakti, bhava bhakti and prema bhakti. In order to achieve these 3, there are 2 paths. There's the Vaidhi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. So this here, Para Bhakti, is actually Raganuga Bhakti. Para Bhakti, or spontaneous love of God, is the basis of an intimate relationship with the Lord. So Prabhupada is saying that Para Bhakti, or Raganuga Bhakti, is the basis of an intimate relationship with the Lord. Then he says this highest stage of remembering. So in other words, it's of a higher kind. It is superior to Vaidhi. This highest stage of remembering the Lord, how can it be attained? By hearing about Krishna, His name, form, quality, from authentic sources, like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, recited by pure Analoid devotees. This is very important. So how can we develop a more deeper attraction and deeper affection for Krishna? By hearing about Krishna. Not only Krishna, but by hearing about His relationships with His devotees. So, which are the most superior devotees of Krishna? The residents of Vrindavan, in other words. So by hearing about Krishna's pastimes of the residents of Vrindavan, this is the highest type of Krishna Katha. No doubt to hear about Krishna on battlefield, etc., to hear about Krishna's relationships with the Pandavas, to hear about Krishna in Dwarka, to hear about Ramchandra in Ayodhya, and to hear about Lord Narayan's pastimes. No doubt that is also Krishna Katha. But the highest type of Krishna Katha is to hear about Krishna's relationships with the highest devotees. And they're actually the residents of Vrindavan. So hearing about this increases our attraction for Krishna. Why is that? Why? Because the residents of Vrindavan have the highest type of affection. So by hearing about it, we can appreciate it. Do you understand? By hearing about their affection, then we can more deeply appreciate it, and it will come to us if we hear about it properly and enough. And after hearing about it, we remember about it. It will also come to us. There's a nice example. That there's a funeral. This is a very nice example. There's a funeral, and one family member's at the funeral, but this is in the Indian area now. It's either a Jewish funeral or Indian funeral. And the husband has died, so the wife is there. So what is she doing? That's Indian funeral or Jewish. So what is she doing? Huh? Wailing, weeping. I've seen this, that in, not in Jewish, but Indian, that one man died, and the lady, she was screaming, wailing, piteously crying, lamenting. And she got to such a stage that she passed out. That happens all the time. And I thought also that she was even hitting herself. They do that. I mean, like completely bereft. And the funny thing was, in this particular funeral, the lady that was doing this, it wasn't even her husband who died. That was the funny thing. You know, she was married into a family, and it was her husband's father. In other words, it was her, her husband's father, a father-in-law. I couldn't understand it. Anyhow, you go to a funeral and people are bereft, so they're crying. So you may go and you may not even know the person who died. You may not even know that person who dies. But when you hear one lady, two ladies cry, then what happens to you? You also start to get affected, isn't it? You also start to feel a little funny. Yeah, you also, sometimes also you start to get all, and even sometimes some tears can come as well. It depends on, sometimes people's hearts are soft, and slightest thing, their hearts will melt and they feel some emotion. So what is happening? The emotion of that lady is coming on you. You understand this? That lady is crying, so it's coming on you. So this is called avesh, A-V-E-S-A. It means to become absorbed in that person's mood. We become absorbed in that person's mood. That person is weeping and lamenting, it is coming on us. It means to be absorbed. Tadatmika bhav, it means to become absorbed in. The other example is you put an iron rod in a fire. Then what happens to that iron rod? Prabhupada uses this example all the time, but he never gave the other side of the example. What happens to that rod? Yeah, it's not fire, but it becomes like the fire. So by hearing about Krishna's pastimes or relationships, his relationships with his pure devotees, specifically the residents of Vrindavan, then their feelings, their emotions, they have such high quality of emotions and feelings, they also can come on us. Just like an iron rod in the fire, or just like you hear some woman cry at a funeral, and that emotion can come on you. So by hearing and reading about the intensity of the attachment that the residents of Vrindavan have for Krishna, then you can also, as you hear about it and remember it more and more and more, it can slowly come on you. Just like we hear about another example, we hear about Krishna, Prabhupada's preaching, how enthusiastic and how he's always preaching. So when we hear about that, then that preaching mood also comes on us, isn't it? It's the same principle. When we hear about Prabhupada's preaching lila, it's like a lila, his lila of compassion, then that also comes on us, and we think, well, he did it, I will do it. What he has done, I can also do something. He has done all this, let me also contribute some or other. And when we hear about his the difficulties that he went through in order just to preach, then we also get that preaching mood. You see? So Prabhupada is saying here, the highest stage of relationship with the Lord can be attained by hearing about him, his name, form, quality, and pastimes. So by hearing about Krishna's pastimes, then we can hear about his relationships. Pastimes means relationships. It means relationships with his devotees. Krishna is never separated from his devotees. And whenever we say Krishna, it means his devotees. So, and it means they have a relationship, and they have so many relationships. We know there's 5 primary relationships. So Krishna is always trying to taste this relationship with his devotees, and his devotees are always trying to taste a relationship with him. There's always this exchange of relationship. So by reading about these relationships and the intensity of their relationships, then that same mood can come to us. You know. So we have to hear about from authentic sources. Authentic source means what? Yes. Here it says from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. But actually, you can go to any bookstore and get Bhagavad Gita, or, what's the use? But actually, you have to hear the Tika. Tika means commentary. So that's the important thing. When Mahaprabhu cited those 5 things as being important, Harinam, worship of deity, right? Mathura Vasi, living in Mathura, Sadhu Sangha, and Bhagavat Shravana, hearing Bhagavatam. What actually it means, deeper meaning, is not just hearing Bhagavatam, because there are many Bhagavat reciters, right? Bhagavat Saptas. When I was in Vrindavan last year, it was they had an extra month in the calendar. What month was it, Shravana? So they had Murari Bapu, who was a very big Bhagavatam reciter, very popular in Gujarat. And he was in Vrindavan. He was just 200 meters from the temple. They had an enormous pandal. 50,000 people had come to Vrindavan. 50,000 people had come only for him, to hear him. The population of Vrindavan is only about 50,000, and another 50,000 people came. They descended on Vrindavan for 1 month. And you couldn't get a place to stay anywhere. Devotees actually had to stay in Mathura. They couldn't even stay anywhere when it was so crowded. So he's a Bhagavatam reciter, and he recited Bhagavatam for 7 days, or in this case I think it was about 2 weeks, and then he left. So professional Bhagavatam reciter. So to hear Bhagavatam from professional Bhagavatam reciter, that's not what we're looking for. We want to hear from the pure devotee. So recited by pure Anmoy devotees of the Lord. This means we hear from Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada's commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. Commentary means tika. This is what we have to hear. His tika, his commentary. And Srila Prabhupada's commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam includes other commentaries. There are famous commentaries on the Bhagavatam. Sridhar Swami wrote the most famous commentary on the Bhagavatam, the authorized, accepted commentary. Even Mahaprabhu accepted that. So Prabhupada is also taking from Sridhar Swami's commentary. And then Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur wrote his commentary, which is very esoterical and deep. So darshan. So Prabhupada is taking from that. Then Jiva Goswami also wrote his Vaishnava Doshini. He wrote his commentary. So Prabhupada is taking from these 3 acharyas. And then also, because he's preaching to people in the West, he's adding something also that we can understand, because we come from Western background. So Prabhupada's commentaries are the most complete. And Prabhupada's commentaries, Tika, his commentary on Bhagavatam, is Sridhar Swami's commentary, is also taken from Jiva Goswami's Vaishnava Doshini, and Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur's Darshan, and his own commentary. And also he quotes many times Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. So this is the most complete way. So if we hear Srimad Bhagavatam by Prabhupada's commentary, then this is the safest way. So he has also given us the Krishna book at a very early stage in ISKCON. He gave us the Krishna book. These are the pastimes of Krishna, 10th canto. 10th canto is understood very special. One has to be very cautious when reading it, very careful. But Prabhupada has given it with commentary. So when we read it, then we can not become bewildered, and we can understand Krishna's position as the Hamsavashi, as Param Brahma, Paramatma. The way Prabhupada has written it, it is very... all the time he's preaching tattva. Tattva means truth. It's not just lila, but also all the time he's explaining Sambandhana Gyan. Sambandhana Gyan means knowledge of our relationship with the Supreme Lord. So all the time there's Sambandhana Gyan, then lila. Sambandhana Gyan, then lila. So otherwise, if it's all lila, we might think, oh, Krishna, he's an ordinary person. We might begin to think, oh, the gopis or the residents of Vrindavan, they're ordinary. So the way Prabhupada has presented it is he is preaching. Sambandhana Gyan means quoting from Bhagavad Gita, and then maybe some pastime, and then again Sambandhana Gyan. So this is a very perfect way. And Prabhupada wanted us to read this and try to understand this. So this highest stage of relationship with the Lord can be attained simply by hearing about Him. So I'll read this whole thing again. The word paraya is very significant. It means transcendental. Para bhakti, or spontaneous love of God, which is actually Raganuga Bhakti, is the basis of an intimate relationship with the Lord. This highest stage of relationship with the Lord can be attained simply by hearing. So this is all we have to do, hear. His name, form, quality. But we have to hear from the right source, from authentic sources like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, recited by pure anointed devotees of the Lord. So the beginning of para bhakti, or spontaneous love of God, is simply to hear. All we do is hear. And what do we hear? Krishna's pastimes with his pure analoid devotees, specifically the residents of Vrindavan. Actually, this is what I mean, only the residents of Vrindavan. And if we hear, this is the beginning stage of para bhakti. So I'll read the translation again. O my Lord, persons who smell the aroma of your lotus feet carried by the air of Vedic sound through the holes of the ears, accept your devotional service. For them you are never separated from the lotus of their hearts. So any questions?
You're explaining about our attachment, and there's different levels of attachment in our service to Krishna. So oftentimes, like I know for myself, I met devotees that seemed very attached to their service, to the Prabhupada's movement. But oftentimes, because of some anarthas they had to work through, they became temporarily distracted. So I wanted to ask you, like according to Madhurya Kadambini, there are different anarthas which are eradicated according to the different stages. So does one's attachment to Krishna, does it also does it stay steady even if there are like anarthas that the person has to work through? How does it exactly work? Maybe I'm not asking it right.
In the proportion that our anarthas go, then we become fixed in devotional service. Means nishta bhakti. So you have the stage of, bhajana kriya generally is accepted as within one's mind one decides to follow different principles, and this should manifest also by taking vow, which means initiation, at least formal initiation. So then anishta bhakti. Anishta bhakti is full of up and downs. So what's the difference between anishta bhakti and nishta bhakti? Nishta bhakti, nishta means the quality of steadiness. So nishta has that quality of steadiness, and anishta is more fluctuating. Fluctuating means going up and down, thick and thin, diluted, concentrated. You're keen, you're not so keen. And nishta means more fixed. So the thing which separates us from this thing that separates anishta and nishta are the anarthas. So as the anarthas go, lust, anger, greed, 6, lust, anger, greed, ignorance, envy, illusion. As these things go, then we come to nishta, and nishta means we're on the stage of fixed devotionals. We're more fixed. So in the proportion that the anarthas go, to that proportion will be fixed. So let us say then, we become sufficiently pure, and we come to the stage of nishta. Nishta means fixed devotional service. We're more fixed. That means we're not so much influenced by the mode of ignorance and passion. Still anarthas are there, but we're on the level of nishta. And then to go from nishta to a higher stage of ruchi, again, more anarthas have to go. So it's according to the proportion that the anarthas go, and then nishta or ruchi or shakti will come. So, also, someone may be on the platform of nishta, but that doesn't mean occasionally they may get some very nice taste, like ruchi or buzz. They may get some very nice taste, but actually they're on the level of nishta though. Just like in the winter in Cape Town, the weather's... Is there a word to describe it?
Has to be experienced.
It has to be experienced, but it could be that there's one day that the sun comes out, but generally it's lousy. So it could be that you're on like nishta, but it could be that some ruchi will come. Like everyone has experienced, we may be performing our service, and suddenly for some reason or other, some humility may come in our heart, isn't it? It may come, some humility may come. It may stay for some hours or one day or something. I mean more than usual. And with that humility, you will feel useless, dejected, and you feel that you're just not doing enough, and you condemn yourself. And this is very good for love of God. Premi Trishna Danyamata. That the mother of humility, love of God is the mother of humility, the two in a relationship of cause and effect. This is very good to feel, humble. Very, very good. But unfortunately it doesn't stay. It goes. And again, some little bit other ideas come, puffed up ideas or other ideas will come. Controlling mood will come. But it can come a little bit, but then it will go. But when it's there all the time, then you know you're on that stage. So when ruchi comes when there's attraction all the time, then you know you're on that stage. But if it comes a little bit here and there, you may not be on that stage. But it may come a little bit and go. Like the sun may peep and then go through the clouds. Does that answer a little bit?
Is it also that taste can become more steady if one has proper association? Because oftentimes we hear that we should keep ourselves in the association of pure devotees. So maybe you could share with us.
Right. So the word sadhu sangha, what does that mean? It's so important, is it not? What does Prabhupada say? The 90% of advancement is determined by association. But that's very general. What does sadhu sangha mean? Devotees. How many different types of devotees are there? Huh? Many. So what does it mean then? Does it mean associate with Kanishta? Does it mean? There's Kanishta, there's Madhyama, and there's Uttama. So who should we associate with? Yeah, so Sadhu Sangha actually means to associate with Uttama. So what is an Uttama? Uttama is? first class devotee? What are the symptoms of an Uttama? If we don't know, then an Uttama Bhagavad may walk in here, and how do we know? How will we know? What do we really know the symptoms of Uttama Bhagavad? There's two ways of knowing: theoretically, and you may have firm realization. To have realization, you also have to be on that level, isn't it? To realize an Uttama, to fully realize, you also have to be an Uttama. Otherwise, it's theoretical. You know, just like, how do we know that Srila Prabhupada is an Uttama? How do we know that? Because someone told us. Because we read it in the books. How do we know? To really have full realization that Prabhupada is an Uttama, you also have to be Uttama, or at least in that category, or somewhere up there, somewhere quite high up there. But we can have theoretical knowledge. So we have theoretical knowledge. So the qualification of Uttama means someone, beginning Uttama is stage of bhav, and then medium stage Uttama is mature bhav, and a high class Uttama is stage of prema. So there are symptoms of bhav. It's described. Rupa Goswami elaborately describes symptoms of bhav, as I explained, nine symptoms. So we should know what these are. We should know them in our minds, and we should be looking to see how they're manifested in different devotees. And then we can see, yes, this is more high class devotee, and then we take the association. And how do we associate? What is the best way to associate? Serve. Yes. Rupa Goswami has given a brief in Upadhasamrita text 5. He's just given a brief description of Uttama. And what is that? There were two things. Yeah. Two things. Engage in undeviated devotional service, and whose heart is devoid of a propensity to criticize others. Anyari sunya hridam ipsitam sangha. Ipsitam sangha. Sunyate. One's heart is devoid of a propensity to criticize others, and one's engaged in undeviated devotional service. That's two very brief descriptions of Uttama. But, we should make it our business to make a much more detailed study. And we should associate with those types of devotees. And that type of Sangha is the best. And if we take Kanishta Sangha, we get something. And we take Madhyam Sangha, we'll get more. And if we Uttama Sangha, we'll get the best. Anything else?
You were describing how when we hear about the pastimes of Krishna with the topmost devotees, the residents of Vrindavan, then we can gradually develop that attraction. So I wanted to know, also you were describing how Prabhupada interspersed his purports with pastimes and also understanding that Sambandha again. So what's the qualification that we can actually hear those pastimes? And is it that anybody will get benefit from hearing them? To what extent can we hear them?
Anyone can read. And, Prabhupada, I remember in London, going on the streets in 1974 with a book bag full of Krishna books, giving them out. In those days they had the trilogy, it was paperback, 3, and we used to give them out. So we're giving them out to Kamis, Krishna book, it's 10th canto. But this is Prabhupada's desire, we did this. So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is described. Vikraditam Rajavadapejana Vishnu. This is the last verse in Canto 10, chapter 33. And he says that if anyone hears the pastimes of Krishna, Rajavadapaya, with the damsels of Braj, because chapter 33 is actually Rasa Leela. If anyone hears, but hears with faith, Shradhamvidam, then he can be purified. So you have to hear with faith. You have to hear with some faith. But the way Prabhupada has presented it, even if you have very little faith, he's presented with some bandhana, knowledge, gyan. So even with very little faith, it's difficult to get the wrong idea. But to answer your question, what is the qualification? That is your question. For hearing about such things. So the qualification is one has greed or a desire to hear about such things. If you have a desire to hear about such things, that is your qualification. So the word greed means lobha. Lobha means greed. If you have greed to hear about such things, that is the qualification. But if your greed is not so strong, then you won't be so greedy to hear about such things, and you'll hear about other things. We have no qualification except greed. And that is the only qualification. Greed. Therefore Rupa Goswami says utsahan, enthusiasm. And the stage of bhav, it is utkanta. It's always there. Complete eagerness, greed, it must always be there. Anything else?
Last night in your arrival address, you were speaking about serving the lotus feet of the Lord means to follow the instruction. But in this verse, it's also speaking about the lotus feet of the Lord, that smelling the lotus feet of the Lord, that's also considered service, and maybe also massaging the lotus feet or offering obeisances to the lotus feet. Is this all in the same realm of service and instruction?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's all the 4 Kumaras, they smelt. That was devotional service. Previously, the 4 Kumaras were in. They were attracted to the impersonal conception, and when they approached Vaikuntha, the air carrying the breeze, carrying the aroma of the tulsi leaves, which were attached to the lotus feet of Vishnu, entered their nostrils, and they experienced a change in the heart. So they simply smelt, but that was devotional service. People come and we give them prasadam and they eat, but that's devotional service.